The Home Secretary repeatedly refused to answer questions today about what exactly she'd asked civil servants to do on her behalf when she was caught speeding last summer.
Did you ask civil servants to put you on a one-on-one speeding course?
In relation to the process, I'm focused on delivering for the British people, do my job as Home Secretary. What I will say is that, in my view, I'm confident that nothing untoward has happened.
Would you welcome an investigation into this? Have you spoken to the Prime Minister? Would you welcome one?
As I said, I'm focused on working as Home Secretary. That's why I'm here.
Are you going to resign, Home Secretary?
Stop the votes.
After a Downing Street meeting on small boats today, the Prime Minister did speak to Suella Braverman about the allegations in some detail for 20 minutes or so. He's also spoken to the number 10 ethics advisor, Sir Laurie Magnus, who would conduct any investigation.
The Prime Minister's independent ethics advisor needs to have a look at this just to establish what did go on. From the look of it, and we don't know everything yet, it does look to me like this is a matter of poor judgment.
Some of the facts aren't disputed. Back in September last year, when Liz Truss appointed Suella Braverman Home Secretary, Ms Braverman brought up with her Home Office officials the fact that she had a speed awareness course coming up quite soon in her diary because of a speeding offence in June last year when she was Attorney General. Could they, the Home Office officials, perhaps convert it into a personal, more private one-on-one speed awareness session? The civil servants consulted the Cabinet Office and came back and said, no, it's a private matter for you to deal with. The Sunday Times says that Suella Braverman's special advisor then made repeated contact with the course provider.
If you're the Office of the Attorney General or the Home Secretary or indeed any other Secretary of State, you are not a neutral actor in this sort of situation. You can't ring up the authorities and say, I'm ringing on behalf of the boss. How about a private one-on-one course to take the punishment, as it were, because that is a very loaded request coming from a minister, and that's, or ministerial office, and that's where I think the poor judgment kicks in.
2 months ago, a friendly moment in public.
Okay, bye. I'll see you. Yeah, thanks very much. I'll see you back.
Okay,
back the right.
Rishi Sunak appointed Suella Braverman to shore up his own shaky position with the right of the party.
We need to get overall immigration numbers down.
Last week, the Home Secretary appeared to attack the government's own immigration policy. Some of her allies privately mocked the rings they claimed they were running around Rishi Sunak.
The Prime Minister is clearly too weak to sort this out. Well, if the Home Secretary cannot get a grip of her own rule-breaking behaviour, how can she get a grip on anything else?
Mr. Speaker, some gentle advice for the Right Honourable Lady. The person who needs to get a grip here is the Shadow Home Secretary and the Labour Party, because they have wholly failed to represent the priorities of the British people.
I think there is a broader campaign within Whitehall to try and discredit the Home Secretary, to try and get her to be resign or to be removed because some people don't like the policies that she is pursuing in the Home Office.
Tonight, the Prime Minister is said to be still availing himself of information about Suella Braverman's conduct before deciding if it merits an investigation.
Well, joining me now is Lord Kerslake, who was head of the Home Civil Service and is now a crossbench peer in the House of Lords. Thanks for joining us. What rule might she have broken?
Well, she's potentially broken the rule around effectively involving civil servants in dealing with what is a personal matter. That's a very clear demarcation that exists, that you should not use civil servants to undertake work that really is for you to sort out as an individual private citizen. And we've had a lot of toing and froing today on this issue, but the fundamental question is not, did she break the speeding level, and did she get a fine? We know that.
Yeah.
The issue is, did she try and get a private office to get her a private speed awareness course in order to avoid any scrutiny of her actions?
But they didn't in the end, did they?
That's a clear breach.
I mean, if they didn't, I mean, if she just asked, is it possible? And they said, no, it's not. Is that a breach of the Ministerial Code?
Well, it doesn't feel quite as casual as that, to be honest. If it was simply, what do you think? That might have been one thing. But her civil servants in her office clearly consulted the Cabinet Ethics Committee before they came back to her. So it must have been more of a request than simply, what do you think about this? And could you help me? Because they wouldn't have done that otherwise. It would have stayed where it lay in the department. So I think there's more to this. And what I think is a problem and why Rishi Sunak needs to properly investigate it through his ethics advisor, Suella Magnus, is that we don't really have the full facts here. And he doesn't have the full facts, I think. He seems to be doing a sort of investigation before an investigation, but he'd be better just to get on with it and get Suella to undertake the necessary work on it. We also have, of course, this accusation in the Daily Mail that her special advisor flatly denied that she had broken the speed limit and was subject to that. If that's true, that's a lie, really, basically. We can't describe it as anything else.
But that's
did she know about it?
I mean, that's a matter for the special advisor, isn't it, I suppose? But the question is, her supporters say, well, how has this all come into the public domain? This is the sort of the civil service blob trying to get a minister that they don't like because she's a bit blunt and wants results. Is there any element of, the machine turning on Suella Braverman to try and get her out just because they don't like her?
Well, look, I don't think so, I have to say. I've worked with civil servants, particularly in private offices, and by and large, they have nothing to do with the press. They try their very best to meet the ministerial needs. And if they're really struggling, they will talk to the Perm Sec. They won't talk to the media. I don't know how this came out, but once something goes into the Cabinet Office, there's a whole range of people who get to know about it. And it could be almost anyone. It could be a disgruntled SPAD. It could be a disgruntled minister who's leaked it. We just don't know. But in all my experience, it's very, very rare for the private office to be involved in anything remotely like a stitch-up of a minister. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, might it not have been reasonable for her to think, well, because of my job as Home Secretary, I'm going to attract especially, an unusual amount of attention by virtue of doing this, and if other people, as it's being claimed today, have had, celebrities have had one-to-one courses arranged by their lawyers, that it's, is it entirely unreasonable for her to have asked the question?
I think it is, because frankly, she should have simply said, I broke the speeding limit, I'll pay the fine, I'll take the penalties and move on. And that would have caused her miles less aggravation. Secondly, you made the point, people use their lawyers to arrange one-to-one speeding awareness courses. They don't use civil servants to do it. And that's the point. She's crossed the line, if it's correct, between her public role and her private role as a person of a citizen, if you like. And Philip Rycroft put it well. If you ask the question from the Home Secretary's office, it has a very different kind of weight to it if it's you as a private citizen, and that's an abuse of power.
Lord Kerslake, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.